Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show is brought to you by DKI Canada. Across the street, across the country. He was one of the most energetic players in NHL history, Mike Foligno. He was also a heck of a coach, and his boys play too. Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show. Coming up! Our guest today hails from Sudbury, Ontario, where he still resides today. He was a right winger. He played 4 seasons with the hometown Sudbury Wolves, won the Red Tilson Trophy as a league MVP. He was drafted by the Red Wings 3rd overall in the 1979 NHL draft. He played 15 NHL seasons for Detroit, Buffalo, Toronto, and Florida. He was captain of the Sabres. 355 goals, 727 points in 1,018 NHL games. He represented Canada 3 times at the World Championships. He was an assistant coach for the Maple Leafs, Avalanche, Ducks, Devils, head coach for the St. John's Leafs, the Hershey Bears, and the Sudbury Wolves. Welcome to the program, Mike Foligno. Mike, great to have you here, my friend.
Thanks, Joe. Always a pleasure. I haven't seen you in a long time.
It has been a long time, many years, and it's so good to see you. You look fantastic, by the way. So,
you still wear your little hat there that you wore years ago?
Once in a while.
Yeah.
When the timing's right. Yeah, sure. So, so you grew up in Sudbury mostly, but part of your youth, I understand, was spent in Italy. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I was born in Canada, and my father at the time was a mason, and the mining industry was good, but then it ebbs and flows, right? So it goes up and down, and they were hiring, and then it was on part time. So we really couldn't afford to keep the whole family in Sudbury. So then my family, my mother, my 2 sisters, and I moved back to Italy for a few years until my father was able to earn enough money in Canada to bring us back. And so I think maybe 3.5 years of being apart, which was crazy at the time, but I guess people did that. And while in Italy, I picked up soccer, and then coming back over to Canada, there was no soccer anywhere. So everybody was, on skates and with a hockey stick in hand. And so I took that game up.
Right. So I understand as well that you were a keeper in soccer. And was there ever any propensity to want to do that in hockey?
No, not from day one. No. At first I was a defenseman. I started playing defense. And then I realized the defense weren't scoring many goals, and I like to score goals, so I decided to become a forward after.
Yeah, I've talked to some guys who went the defensive route because they thought they'd get more ice time. Well, there's only 4 defensemen on those little house league teams, and there'd be 8 forwards, so 9 forwards, so it was tough to get them all in. But scoring goals is also a big deal. So when you get hooked on that, it's pretty hard to turn that one down. And the more goals you score, the more ice time you get, right? So, yeah,
that's right.
Kind of works out. Yeah. So, who would you say had the most influence on your life as a young up and coming hockey player?
Joe, I think there's a number of people. When you think about influences throughout your career. There's the people that are there early for you, friends. You want to hang with your buddies, and usually it's a local group that gets together, plays together, kind of thing. And then from that, it's the coaches. Some of the coaches that you have. I was really fortunate. I had some really nice people around me. My father died early. My father died when I was 10 years old. And so we kind of had to depend on other people to help us get to the arenas and back, and support us a little bit in the sense of our family in helping out. And I think, so early on it was friends, neighbors. After that, it was probably, some of the coaches I had, players I played with, players that moved on from Sudbury, Randy Carlisle, Ron Duguay, just some great people that, kind of showed us the way. And even it was funny because my introduction to the OHL, junior hockey, was we used to sell programs. So our team would get some sponsorship money from the Sudbury Wolves if our team went to the game and sold programs for the first period and a half or so. And then you could watch the game, the rest of the game. So it was awesome. We got a chance to watch the Sudbury Wolves for free. Just, sell a few programs and away you go, which was an incredible, coup for a lot of our players. But, watching those guys, Mike Marsden, Bobby Russell, and just some of the names, Jeff Green, Jim Bedard, guys that, you idolized and growing up, and then all of a sudden you get a chance to play with some of them as well. Hector Marini, Dale Hunter,
Wow.
So I played with a number of really good hockey players, good people, and learned a lot from everyone.
So you were selling programs at the Sudbury Wolves games, and I'm assuming that as a young man, young kid actually, you're thinking, man, my dream is to play for the Sudbury Wolves, and you got an opportunity to do that. How did that come together for you?
Well, one of the things I always say with any kind of introduction that if you want your child to participate in anything, it has to be fun. Before anything else, it has to be fun. And, I've heard recently about some things where, if you were trying to introduce your kid to a sport, you got them practicing or playing or whatever. And the thing to do is just before they tell you they're done with it and they're tired, you tell them that's enough. We're done. Let's move on to something else.
Right.
So they have an enjoyment factor, a fun factor in their mind. It's not work. It's not an overload. And I think with us, it was like that. We got exposed to the game, going to watch the Sudbury Wolves, listening to Joe Bowen, who was our sports broadcaster at the time, which was incredible because I used to go to sleep with the radio on and listening to the Wolves game at night. And you just wanted to be a part of the guy that he was talking about. You wanted to experience that. And I think going to the games, it was always fun for us because we always enjoyed being there. We enjoyed the roar of the crowd. We enjoyed, the goal scoring celebrations. And from that, I think we gained a new perspective on, this is something I want to do. This is something I want to be a part of. This is an incredible feeling. And I think that a lot of people, and you ask people why they play the game of hockey. First of all, hockey is the greatest sport in the world. But you ask them why they play, and they play it because they love it. They love the excitement. Look at the playoffs this year. Every year I always say, there's no way the playoffs can get any better than they were this year. There's no way. And then the next year rolls around and it's like, oh my God, like this is the best I've ever seen. And right now it is the best I've ever seen. It's incredible. The determination, the no quit attitudes, relentless effort. And, it takes everything you've got to win.
Yeah, it's been a blast. I'm going to get into that a little bit more later on. But you had so you made it to the Wolves. You had some great years with the Wolves. Your final season, 65 goals, 85 assists, 150 points in 66 games. Won the Red Tilson Trophy as the league MVP or the top right winger. You won the scoring title. It sounds like you were on fire.
Yeah, it was a fun year for sure. I had some good help around me. I had some good, Randy Hillier was one of our defensemen, a long NHL career, long coaching career. Dale Hunter was my centerman for a while, and
Wow.
Dale was incredible. We got drafted in the same year because Dale was an 18-year-old. He was a year younger than me, and that was the first year. My draft year was the first year that they were drafting 18-year-olds. So he was one of the first. I think there was only a handful of 18-year-olds that got drafted, and he was one of them. And deservedly so. He was an intense, player, just like he was throughout his whole hockey career. He played like that right in junior as well. Yeah.
Right. Still today, I know you coached against him too. So now the Red Wings took you third overall. Is it true that you never played one single game in the minors?
I couldn't tell you. I probably could tell you the name of only one team in the American Hockey League. And not like, people say, well, you're just ignorant. I didn't want to know. I mean, first of all, in Sudbury, Ontario, you don't hear much about the American Hockey League during those days. The only one that I knew about was Rod Schutt, and he was a former teammate. And Rod Schutt went to Nova Scotia. He got drafted by the Montreal Canadiens, so that was a big to do. And we knew how good Montreal was, and little did we know at the time, but the farm team was probably an NHL team because they were able to, protect players and hide players. And Rod was on that team for a few years before he was able to get to the NHL. But he had to do it by getting traded to another team, and that was Pittsburgh Penguins. So, Montreal was so stacked in those days, So I never really heard much about the American Hockey League. So when I got to Detroit, Ted Lindsay, pulled me aside and he says, you have a good chance to be here. He says, so do everything in your power just to stay. And I was relentless. I was hard-headed, determined, never quit. I had some good people around me too to kind of push me and help me. Pete Mahovlich, my friend Jim Korn from way back, my old roommate, and then Dale McCourt too as well. Dale was a Sudbury guy, and he was also one of the guys that helped me with my game. Reed Larson was there. Guys that just, Perry Miller, guys that would protect me and help me. And you know what? It turns out where I made the team, and I was so happy I made the team because I didn't even know who our farm team was in Detroit.
Probably Adirondack, I'm thinking, but still is today.
I think it was either Glens Falls or Adirondack. Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. So, but who cares? Because you'd never find out. You don't need to know about Hershey Bears and other teams like that. I'm only you coach them later on. But okay, so we actually have here you are making the team first time around. We have the first NHL goal you ever scored against the Oilers. Turnover here in the Oilers zone. Errol Thompson, Pete Mahovlich, a couple of big names here, worked the puck into the slot. And there you are, zing, past Eddie Mio, and the famed Foligno leap right off the hop. What prompted the jump, first of all?
Well, I tell you what, did you see the height of that jump? Did you see it was about 3 feet underneath me there? Holy man, I could never do that today.
A lot of airtime.
No, but you know what?
There you go.
I forgot Errol Thompson. Errol Thompson was a great player. He played with the Leafs for many years on the big line. He could play big numbers, and he was a really strong player. He could wrist the puck with one hand. And I'll never forget. He had the potato farmer arms, and I remember in practice he would come around and wrist the puck with one hand into the net. Well, monkey see, monkey try to do, and we worked on all kinds of shooting drills, and he would always be there trying to work with me. And you saw Pete Mahovlich was there too as well.
Yeah,
and Pete was just a great leader in the sense of making you feel comfortable. He always wanted to make sure I was not too nervous out there. He kept things relaxed, as Pete always does. But, like I said, these are great people to have, kind of bring you into the NHL and show you the ropes and, just great memories for sure.
Okay, so we also have a clip here from an interview you did that season during the game. You were asked about some of your highs and lows from that initial rookie campaign. Let's roll that, Vic.
The low point is this streak we're in lately. We're just trying to get out of it now, and I guess the second half, just after Christmas, we just started getting a little bit of a slump and at home. And I think if we just try to pull out of that, work a little bit harder, work a little bit more together out there, and maybe things will turn around. The high point, I guess, would be getting that first hat trick and
a second one 2 games later.
Well, that was just the second best thing that happened, I guess. And, of course, a penalty shot in Toronto. I scored on that, and that was my lucky 3 days, I guess.
You don't sound like a rookie. You don't play like a rookie. You don't feel like a rookie either, do you?
Well, we've played a lot of games, and you can't feel like a rookie out there because they're going to make you look bad if you think you're a rookie, and they know you're a rookie. You have to work hard because you have to cover up your mistakes, and everybody's going to be making mistakes out there. So you just try to cut down on the mistakes.
First thing I got to ask is that Hugh Hefner your tailor? Let's get that robe.
How about that robe? Holy man. That is awesome. I got to try to see if I can find one like that. That's amazing. How distracting is that robe when you're listening to me talk?
That was beauty. Yeah.
I must have lost a bet. I think that's what happened. You have to wear this.
That must have been it. But you know what? It was a pretty good self-analysis, I think, don't you? Your ability to break down your season to that point was pretty on the spot, don't you think?
Well, number one, rookies should be seen and not heard. So I went on way too long there. But I think that's the right mindset, though. You can't, you have to stay positive. It's so hard, as an athlete because you're always. There's always resistance. There's resistance in every part of your game. There's resistance in practice. There's, everybody's going to say, well, you get paid for that. Yeah, you do. But with every job that someone else gets paid for too, there's certain resistances that you have to overcome. And one of this is not just your own mindset of playing up to a certain level that of expectation. It's also, playing together as a team, and it's also playing against incredible competition. And so, you've got to work harder. You've got to, think differently. You have to work better together as a team. Systems and tactics will take you so far, and it's the extra effort and determination that takes you to the next level. And I think I had some of that as a player, and I learned some of that with other players around me and other coaches with systems and tactics. And, it's amazing sometimes after the practices are over, how much you can learn by staying on the ice an extra 20 minutes or so. And I did a lot of that with Marcel Pronovo. Marcel Pronovo was there. Red Berenson in Buffalo, Jimmy Roberts in Buffalo, Craig Ramsey. There's a lot of guys that, helped and kind of groomed me to be the player I was.
The Red Wings, I'm sure, were pretty glad they didn't send you back to the minors because that first season, 36 goals, you talked about a couple of hat tricks, 35 assists in that rookie season. Now, most years, that's good for a Calder Trophy, but it went to some guy named Raymond Bourque that year, and it's kind of unfortunate because those are Calder numbers.
Who is Ray Bourque anyway? It's funny, I just saw him. I just saw him at an autograph signing session in Toronto about a month ago, and we were just kind of talking about the old days. And it's funny, we broke into the league together. He with Boston and me with Detroit. He finished he played most of his career in Boston. I went to Buffalo, Toronto, and finished with Florida. But then in my coaching ranks, I had the honor and privilege of going to Colorado to be an assistant with Mark Crawford and Jacques Lucien, my buddy. And who do they
acquire
for? Ray Bourque, which was an incredible coup by Pierre Lacroix, and just catapulted that team to the next level. And I went down to the farm team to coach the Hershey Bears, and Bob Harley was up coaching the NHL, and they won the cup. But when our season was over, we were able to go to we got invited by Pierre to come to Colorado, to Denver, to be with the team and skate, the Black Aces. And when we were there, we were also allowed to participate in everything that went on as far as the celebration goes. And I got to tell you, we had so much fun with those guys. Our first drink out of the cup with them, and because of them, I was just thrilled and honored to be a part of the organization, and to have some of our players that were in the American Hockey League in Hershey, and now they're drinking out of the cup because they won it with the team, having been there a year or two. What an incredible feeling, So thank you, Colorado. Thank you, Ray Bork.
Yeah.
We broke in together and were able to drink out of the same cup in the same year together, many, many years later.
Well, that's pretty cool because it was his first opportunity as well, right? You guys came in at the same time, but it was pretty cool. You both got that opportunity. And, and that shows you what a class organization Colorado is, having you guys up, but you took part in all the festivities because you were a part of the festivities. You helped the guys get there, and you're a big part of that. You were a coach of that team as well. So good on them. Good on you.
They sure made us feel that way, which is, you're so respectful of the way that they treated all their employees. Incredible.
So you only played a couple seasons in Detroit before shuffling off to Buffalo, along with Dale McCourt and Brett Peterson for Danny Gare, Jim Schoenfeld, and Derek Smith. Blockbuster trade. What do you think prompted that transaction?
I think when they traded away, I think when first of all, Ted Lindsay was a big factor in drafting me, and he was a big part of, my career, the early part of my career. And I think when they let him go, it took a little bit away from me. Because I really liked him, and I really respected him, and I thought he did everything he could to be a part of that, or to make that team the best that it could possibly be. The other thing was the ownership they wanted to sell. The Norris family wanted to get out, and they were looking to sell the team. And it was my contract year, so at the end of the year, they would have had to offer me, I guess in today's terms, what I was worth. Yeah, and so they didn't really want to do that, and so I was traded, and thank God I went to a team like Buffalo because it ended up being a great place to play for so many years. But it hurt me, and when he got let go, so I was a little bit down after he was let go, and I don't think I played to the potential of my capabilities. And maybe that forced the trade as well. So I don't want to give you this or that answer. I'm assuming that's probably what it was.
Oh, you know what? And it worked out. It was good because the Sabres had some good seasons there, and you were a big part of that. And things weren't that great in Detroit for a long, long time. So speaking of great seasons in Buffalo, here we have a goal against Philly. Sabres on the forecheck here. Christian Ruutu is going to size things up, and he moves into the circle. Cross-ice feed for Mike Foligno. No chance for Ron Hextall. There, of course, is the Foligno Leap once again, and that's a pretty beautiful thing. And how about one more? One of your biggest.
Christian Ruutu. Christian Ruutu was really good at those cross-ice backdoor plays. He always looked for those.
That was so sweet. Threads the needle. Beautiful. Hextall is still looking for his jar.
You'd love to score 30 like that one, eh, Joe?
Yeah. Maybe 60 if you had him play with you all the time. So
actually, Christian Ruutu, who was Christian Ruutu, who was my centerman there for a couple of years, he ended up also staying in the game a long, long time. He was a long-time European scout and had quite a career, both playing in the NHL and scouting for NHL teams, and just a class act. I really enjoyed him, and playing with him for sure.
Yeah, beautiful. You guys had a great thing going in Buffalo. A lot of good players, a lot of good teammates, and the community really grew. The team really grew into the community, and vice versa. But we have another one of your goals in Buffalo. This is a playoff goal, one of your biggest, against the Bruins in overtime. Power play, shoot in. Dave Andreychuk gets it to John Tucker, to Foligno, bangs it past Reggie Lemelin. And what did that feel like to get that big goal against that team?
Well, it was always great to beat Boston. They're our big nemesis for so many years, and we took great pleasure with scoring the goal against them for sure. John Tucker, longtime NHLer, Dave Andreychuk, everyone knows Dave, and just great people to be. I mean, that line, they put us together. Scotty put us together for a bit there, and I'll tell you what, we were pretty hot for a while, and glad to see that puck go in the net for sure.
That leap was your trademark throughout your career, and made goals look so much fun. We love to see you every time you scored that goal. You had the leap. Did you ever get any pushback from that? Did any opposition players give you a hard time about it, or even teammates? I guess, I don't know.
No, teammates never, except one time when I early in my career in Buffalo, I scored a goal, and Lindy Ruff came in, and early before I did my jump.
Right.
When I did my jump, I swung my stick and I hit him right in the head. So when I hit him in the head, this is the craziest story ever. I can't even believe this happened. So he wore contact lenses. So when I hit him in the head, he lost the contact, and so we're stopped there now, and we're looking on the ice for the contact, and we can't find the contact. Right? It's hard to see in the snow, and and it was a little bit of snow on the ice. Finding it. Well, no, Lindy can't see it. Yeah. So anyway, now we're talking about Lindy Ruff, right? Tough nose.
Yeah.
Just genuine guy. So. This is all year long, because of the hit, I guess, to the eye or whatever, he was having infections, all year long. And he couldn't, they couldn't figure out why. He kept getting drops and stuff. So anyway, almost a year later, this is unbelievable. But we're at our practice rink, and Scotty Bowman's got us doing this discombobulated drill. And and him and I, Lindy and I, boom, we run into each other, and we both fell down. I felt like I got hit by a truck. He felt like he got hit by a truck. And, we're both kind of pissed off and, woozy. And so he goes home that night and has headaches and a sore eye. In the middle of the night, he wakes up, and he goes to the mirror to see what's going on with my eye, and he looks in the mirror and he sees a green, like, half moon at the corner of his eye, and he pulls on it because it feels like it's something that's got to come out, and he pulls on it, and it's the contact that's been in his
the
eye
whole time
for 1 year. I hit him so hard with my stick a year earlier that the contact got swung into the back of my eye. He went to eye doctors and everything, and the whole year they couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. And doesn't it happen where we collide to heal?
And it pops back out.
It was crazy. The craziest story ever.
You that knocked it out, you that knocked it back in.
And I was in disbelief when he told me the next day. I said, no way. And he brought it in on a napkin just to show everybody on the team.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That's an incredible story. My goodness. So, in addition to the leap, you also had another, of course, regular kind of standard Mike Foligno sighting, the helmet, right? The bucket. It was a very unique bucket. And there was a reason for that, but tell us about that.
You know what? It was something that, it was a helmet that a lot of guys wore early on. Ronnie Ellis, Errol Thompson. Some of the older players wore it. It was the helmet that was given to me when I first got to Detroit, and you know what? It felt really comfortable. I just felt like, you know, it was a part of me. I tried the other CCM stuff, and they were still trying to perfect that helmet, and it wasn't quite right. It never really sat on anybody's head the right way. Yeah, that's the old Northland, the old Stan Mikita Northland helmet.
Right.
But when I put it on, it felt really comfortable. And I said, you know what, like, this is something I'm going to wear. And it felt like it stayed on when you got hit or you hit somebody. And God forbid if you ever got into a fight, it helped a lot because it protected you. So I used it quite a bit that way too. But then, you know, when I had kids, it was like, I'm going to keep the helmet because even though there were some newer models that came out, I said, I'm going to keep wearing this helmet because at least my kids, when they're really young, 2, 3, 4 years old, they'll know when they watch TV who their father is. And so I kept it my entire career.
Well, you talk about, you know, if you happen to get in fights, well, you got in a lot of them actually. And you always had ample, you know, you always among the top scorers in your team, you know, when it came to goals and assists, but you also had ample penalty minutes. And we have some video of you getting into it with some fans in Boston. You got to tell us what this is all about.
Well, I would, you know, first of all, it was a love-hate relationship with the Boston fans. I love to hate them. They love to hate me. And I was coming off the ice after a shift, and doesn't a fan throw a beer at me? You know, like the cup of beer, or whatever, right in my face, and I got it right in the eyes, and I was like, I lost it, you know. So I ran right into the stands, and mayhem broke loose with all the police coming there because they always had police at the game when we played there because it was tradition, right? You know, the fans getting involved, whether they're taking a swipe at you over the glass or, you know, at the bench, jarring at you. There was always something going on with, you know, the distractions and the emotion of the game. And that's what I think it was. You know, our bench got involved as well. So it's just another hockey story, you know.
Hey Mike,
well,
did you grab the guy's shoe and hit him in the head with it?
Yeah, not like Milbury did. Yeah. I saw that one. I should have grabbed anybody's shoe.
So those original 16s particularly, they tend to have the best fans or the wildest fans anyway. So very popular player in Buffalo, and you got to do some commercials. And Paul Patsko, our video guy, managed to find this out in the spot from Orville's Appliances. Let's watch.
You think you're cool? Let's see. You know, I've been in this league a long time, and I've never met anything as tough as this KitchenAid refrigerator from Orville. Orville's and KitchenAid for the way it's made. Gotcha.
Well, actually, I think probably the fridge won, but you might not get an Academy Award for your acting, but it was kind of fun to be able to do some of that. Right?
I'll tell you what, that was so embarrassing. My kids playing all the time, and they just try to piss me off. It's terrible.
Well, I apologize.
It's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, it is.
It's
cool,
all part of being
funny.
young, you know. It's all part of being young, Joe.
Well, you know, it's good though. I mean, it shows you when you're doing stuff like that in the community, it shows that you're a big part of it. And Buffalo was tough. You became Sabres captain. What was it like to be bestowed that honor?
Well, you said it right there. I mean, it was definitely an honor. I mean, when I got to, you know, when you get to see some of the captains in the league when you're a young kid, and you know, you see the responsibility, you see the work, you see the dedication, the leadership. You know, you always think maybe one day it could be that for an NHL team or a team at the highest level. I was a captain in Bantam. I was a captain in junior. And at a certain point, I obviously became a captain in Buffalo, and we had some great leaders there. Gilbert Perreault, he was the ultimate captain. I mean, he was the first captain I think he was the first captain for Buffalo, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But he was just a great friend and a great leader, and he is a friend still. But you learn from so many people. Lindy Ruff was a captain. Craig Ramsey was a captain. Jim Schoenfeld was a captain. It's an honor to be a leader of a group of men like that. And, I didn't take it lightly. I thought it was an incredible opportunity, and, was really thankful to be named captain of an NHL team.
Next up, Toronto, you get dealt to the Leafs. Were you happy about the deal because you're leaving Buffalo, where you've been for a long time, but you're also going to kind of the hometown team, more or less?
Well, what is funny? I was happy where I was in Detroit. I'm sorry, in Buffalo. At the same time, I knew that it was time to get maybe a change of scenery or re-energized. And the trade came along. Jerry Meehan was, called me in his office and told me about it, and he just said, I think it's a good place for you to go. And he wasn't wrong. It ended up being a great place for me to go. It wasn't very far from Buffalo, where I had 4 kids that I was leaving leaving for part of a year because they were going to stay back and stay in school. And it ended up being probably an incredible change and move for many reasons. And, I guess number one is, the success that we had in Toronto. Mm-hmm. I think to this day, it's the most successful team since 1967, from what I understand. And, Cliff Fletcher did a great job, making some deals to get us the team that could compete the way that we did. And I think that, we're thankful. All of us are thankful for his efforts. And we had a great group, getting a chance to play with Dougie Gilmour and Wendell Clark, and having even Dave Andrewchuk join us a little while later, which was unbelievable. A Hall of Famer. Felix Potvin, who I just saw about 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago at the second playoff game in Toronto, who I haven't seen since 92, 93, 93, wow. 94. So, yeah, so it's been a long time. And you know what? You still pick up from – it's incredible when you have some success with a group. You just pick up from where you left off. You're still brothers, and that's what we were on that team that year. Todd Gill, Bob McGill, Jamie McCowan, Bob Rouse, Peter Zezel. I mean, just hard-nosed guys, and Robbie Pearson. I can go on and on with names of the kind of players that we had, but we also had something I think that helped us get over the top, and that was grit. We played a Cliff Fletcher style of game, a Pat Burns kind of game, and that was relentless and grit. And I think that's one of the reasons why we had some good success.
Vic has a question. Vic, go ahead.
Hey, Mike, you came from Sudbury, which is a big Italian population. You come to Toronto, a big Italian population. Were you surprised how well you were received by all the fans in general, but more so the Italian community as well?
You know what? A good point. I didn't realize that Toronto didn't have too many Italian players not just in the years I was there, but over the years. And I have no idea why not, but it was a great feeling to be able to come to Toronto, where the population is probably second to Rome, in Italians. And I think that we had incredible support from the Italian community in Toronto. They love their hockey. They love their competitiveness. It was easy. It was an easy buy-in for sure.
But you were immediately loved. Like, I remember you coming in.
Yeah.
You were immediately like, this is our guy. He's fantastic.
Well, hopefully I played up to expectations. You know, I really enjoyed living there. I enjoyed being a part of the Toronto Maple Leafs organization. It's a first-class organization, always has been, especially from the Cliff Fletcher era on, for that I know of, and I think that it was a proud moment to be a part of history and part of that team.
Well, speaking of Vic, of course, is obviously Italian, and for the Toronto Italian community, him and his family is pretty awesome. So, the playoff run 92-93, you talked about all the guys who played key roles in that, the grit and everything else in the Pat Burns and Cliff Fletcher team, and you played a key role as well. You had in the first round, we had some overtime here in Detroit. Now, your pressure leads to the turnover. Wendell Clark is going to keep it in. Feeds it in front for you. Mike Krushelnyski provided the screen. There's that leap, and I don't think it was ever more enthusiastic than it was right there. It's a 5-4 overtime win as you beat Shovel Day, and the team came back from a 4-1 down in that game for a 5-4 win, and that took us 3-2 series lead. Burns was obviously a very happy guy. What was that like for you at the time?
You know what? There's certain games that stay with you forever. I think we just saw one recently here in this year's playoffs, and that was the Winnipeg game. With 1 second to go, they tied it, and then they go to win it, and it was just incredible hockey. And I think this was one of those games. We were, dead to rights after the first two games. We were down 2-0. We came back to our building, and we came back home, and actually it was Cliff Fletcher who had a meeting with the team one night. He asked everybody to come in at night, and he just told us that we lost 2 games. We're not focused on winning games. We're focused on certain players on the other team, and we have to change our focus. And I think we were always trying to get Cicerelli because he was always in front of the net. He was being a big pest, and our focus was on people. It wasn't on us, and it wasn't on playing. And it seemed like we changed our mindset. We won the next 2 games, and we knew that the 5th game was going to be the backbreaker. And we knew that, someone gave us a stat, and one of the stats was like 80% or 80, something between 80 and 85% of the teams that win the 5th game win the series. So there was a little extra, strength and will in that game. And, but it seemed like after Cliff Fletcher talked to us about that situation, we changed our mindset. Dino Cicerelli never became a factor anymore. And we were able to play the kind of game that we wanted to play, and relentless. And Burnsy had us going. He would move players in and out of the lineup that, he felt he needed a certain night. Felix was playing incredible. We had, Wendell, who was starting to light it up. We had Dougie Gilmore, who was just incredible leader. But we really started to play a more intense game. That goal, for the way it happened with, I think it was Probert trying to get it out of the zone. We were able to keep it in. Wendell down the wall. Mike Krushelnyski goes to the front of the net. And I remembered Wendell passing it to me in the slot. And, he did that little flip pass. And I just saw a hole between Krushelnyski's legs and the goalie's legs. And I threw it right into that hole, and, thank God it went in. The reason I think I jumped so high is because obviously very excited, but also I felt like it was my calling. I had broken my leg a year before, and Chris Broders, the trainer for Toronto, he helped me get back on the ice. And I was, contemplating retirement. thinking that, maybe this is an injury that will do me in. And he wouldn't have any of it. He was relentless with, making sure that I did everything I could to be able to come back. And I remember coming to that training camp the next year, not sure whether I was going to make the team or not because of my situation. And Pat Burns had a meeting with the team, and he just told everybody, like, this is my expectations. And, I think actually the way it happened was he met with all 60 guys at the camp, all the young kids, the rookies, the draft picks.
Yeah.
And then he spoke to everybody, telling them, that this is the way it's going to happen, and this is what's going on. This is my attitude. This is my mentality. This is what I'm looking for. And then it's funny, he let all the young kids go, and he kept all the returning players, all the returning veterans. And he said, okay, that was for them. He says, not for you guys. He says, I want everybody that's here to make this team. I like every one of you. It's up to you now. I want to know that you want to be a part of this team. And then he met with me after that meeting and just told me, you take all the time you need. You're a guy I want on this team, and you take whatever time you need for training camp. And it turned out that I felt great. I didn't get into the scrimmages right away, and I kind of slowly worked myself into the lineup. And then, boom, end up getting in the lineup and feeling good. And, that goal was a combination of, and I guess in my way of saying thanks to everybody that helped me. And it felt so good. And that's why I think I jumped so high. It was just an emotional, let out.
Wow. Chris Broadhurst for helping you get back. Fletcher for having the faith in you. Pat Burns for having the faith in you. And, what a great coach he was. And it's just such a shame you guys didn't go all the way. Could have happened, but just didn't. Anyway, it wasn't that long after that you did finally decide to pack it in and become a coach. Was that always going to be the plan for you?
It was in the back of my mind. Tom Watt was one of the first guys to kind of mention it to me about, hey, you ever think about retiring? Maybe you should look at possibly coaching. And one thing that, 15 years of playing doesn't prepare you for one day of coaching. It's a whole new process. And I think what happened was it was about a year later, and I was doing some things on the side, working in construction and thinking about maybe getting into the contracting business, home building business. Me and Larry Playfair, good friend of mine. And I get a call from Tom Watt, and he said, Mike, would you be interested in being my assistant in St. John's, Newfoundland? And I said, well, I didn't know if that was something I wanted to do. And I said, well, maybe this is an opportunity. We discussed it a little bit as a family. And I said, maybe this is an opportunity to get into a second career and stay with the game I love. And we decided to do it. Bill Waters called me and, set up a little bit of a contract. And off I was to St. John's, Newfoundland, where the Baby Leafs were, which was an incredible experience and loved every minute of it. We set up so that my family could come and visit me almost every month. And, the Maple Leafs were very generous in making accommodations for my family. So it worked out really well. And then, unfortunately, at the end of the year, Pat Burns was let go by the Toronto Maple Leafs, and they called me up as an assistant to help out in the NHL. Now, I wasn't ready. There's no way that I was ready for what was about to come. But I think because of my interaction with the players and the respect that I had for them and they had for me, I think they felt that it would be a good decision to make, to bring someone that's a known instead of an unknown. And I probably could have used about 2 or 3 more years of coaching in the American Hockey League before I moved to the NHL. Yeah, more seasoning for sure. But that's what happened. And then next thing you know, the next year I ended up doing some scouting because of some changes, coaching changes. I did some scouting with Toronto, and then the next year, that same year, partway through the year, I get a call from Colorado Avalanche to be an assistant there with Crawford and Jacques Luce.
Well, we actually I have a clip from you when back in your Leaf coaching days and as an assistant. Let's roll that one.
Think of all the coaches I've had with Scotty Bowman, with Pat Burns, with Roger Nielsen. I mean, I've had some pretty good coaches over my time, and I utilize a lot of the things and philosophies that they've had, but I try to incorporate it with a lot of the things that or my personality is. When I first got here the first day, I have to honestly admit there was a lot of tension in the air. Maybe it's because of media hype and what have you, but I felt that there was a lot of tension. There was a lot of guys that were just, I don't know what the word to use, but I guess it was a situation of almost callous. They toughened up their skin. I think that what had to happen was everybody had to open up again. Everybody had to start to give up a piece of themselves to the other guys that were in the room.
Now, you've done a lot of coaching since that time, obviously, and you know, having coached and played in a lot of different places. Is Toronto a tough place to play or coach? Is it a little extra tough?
I think it's tough for a sensitive individual, someone that hasn't been through some difficult, times, some resistance. Mm-hmm. I think to develop a resilience to outside factors, influences, you have to have some type of experience, I think. And you have to have good people around you. If you're a young kid, you have to have some real strong people around you that, or a real strong coach that can help, ease those outside pressures and so on. But I know that the group that we had was a strong group and a lot of veteran guys. And so that helped really to ease things quite a bit. And, you have good leaders. It makes a world of difference. And there's leaders and there's great leaders. And for the time that I felt I was in Toronto, we had great leadership, from the top down. And I think you need that. You need great leadership to accomplish things. And I think there's that buy-in where, everybody has to, and I think I said it in the interview. You can't be selfish. You can't be selfish on a team. There's a certain level of expectation that you have for yourself that people might call being selfish, but it's more than that. It's giving up a piece of yourself to help someone else, because if you're helping someone else, they're helping you and you're being a factor. So that care, you look at the teams that are successful right now, there's a lot of that's going on. There's a lot of care for each other. And that care gives you confidence. You know that all these guys, they genuinely care about you, and the leaders care about you, and you can, care about the guy beside you on the bench or in the dressing room, and genuinely care, not just, it's written in my contract, I got to care about the people around me. Mm-hmm. No. It's gotta come from the heart. Right. And that care shows on the ice. One of your teammates gets run over, you're doing something about it. You're down by a goal. Someone comes up large on the third or fourth line. Your leaders, they got to lead when the calling is for them. Blocking shots, all those things that are parts of a game that an individual can bring. I think when it's done as a team, it is so much stronger and will help you become way more successful.
So that care you talked about, experience, maybe life experience, bringing players in with that kind of, ideal and having leaders with that kind of experience. Do you think maybe that's what the Leafs are lacking now? Do you think there's some of that missing? Is that what has sort of kept them from reaching that next level?
From my perspective, my opinion, it's not going to change anything, but I thought Craig Berube did a great job with the team. I thought he had them playing playoff hockey probably from the second month. The second month, I won't say the first month, because the first month there was a lot of resistance. You could see, and I watched them quite a bit. I watched my sons, but I also watched Toronto's as well. And it seemed like there was some resistance, to the way that he wanted them to play. And I think he finally got to them. He got to them where, they started playing every night like it was a playoff game. And they started overcoming resistance. And they started overcoming, competition that was, trying to match them. And they were able to do it, for a good part of the year. What happens in the playoffs, though, it takes it to another level. And I think they're on the right path. They might need a couple of changes where, you bring in a little bit more character guys, but character guys that can play, not, character guys that, take away from the team. They got to be the right individuals. And I think that's what you look at, what Edmonton has done. They've got great leadership, obviously with, McDavid and especially Draisaitl right now. I think that he's at the top of his game. But you got a lot of buy-in from a lot of other guys now, whereas before it was just kind of McDavid and Draisaitl, and maybe one other guy. But now it's more of a team game that they're playing. And I think the coaching staff there has brought that mindset to them. You look at Florida, and it's totally team, right? It's all about team there. And it doesn't matter who scores. Their celebration for the seventh goal of a game is as emotional as the first goal of an overtime game or whatever. It's just, you never know what goal did they score, the first or the last. It doesn't matter. Their celebration, they're all so excited because it doesn't matter who scores. They're just excited that they scored. And I think that speaks volume of itself, that, they're enjoying what they're doing. And you look at Edmonton this year, and they've stepped it up. That this is going to be a great playoff run here.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be incredible competition. There's no question about it. And I think it's because you got a lot of players playing a selfless game, but yet rising to the occasion when the leaders need to rise to the occasion.
Yeah, looking forward to this. Do you have a pick?
Not yet.
Like 6 o'clock.
But Edmonton
right?
looks better than they did last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, they do. They do.
Yeah.
I think they're healthy.
I think they've matured too.
Yeah. Defense is better.
I think they've. Yeah, it's a combination of things, obviously, but I think there's a maturity level that you have to have, and I think, if you're exposed to success early, I think it's a great thing. I really do. I think that if you are on a team that experiences some success early on in your career, I think it's the greatest thing that could happen for you, because you also, you right away know the elevated level that you have as far as expectation of yourself and capabilities of a team when the team's, firing on all cylinders. The toughest thing for a player is to not go to a good team, a team that maybe is just getting, maybe even before rebuilding kind of thing. Yeah. And then you've got 3 or 4 years where you're kind of like, what's it like to win at this level? You have to experience it at some point in your career. And that's why I think, Edmonton is going to be a little bit more focused, more driven, more disciplined, and, probably more unified than they ever were because of the experience they had last year.
Yeah, you can't teach experience, right? You just got to have it. You just got to go through it.
You got to get through the trenches.
So, your coaching career took you full circle. You ended up back in Sudbury, where you're coach and GM for a while. But the great thing about that is you got a chance to coach both your kids, right? Marcus and Nick, and then and eventually, yes. They both made it to the NHL. I mean, how cool was that to be able to coach your kids, to be able to come back to Sudbury and make a living doing what you do?
I'm so thankful, and you feel blessed because of the opportunity to be able to come back to your hometown to do that, and to coach Nick and Marcus, and to have some success, with the team. I feel like, it was, I don't know, I felt like it was more like a calling, to come back to Sudbury, to leave Hershey at the time. We'd been there for 5 years, part of the Avalanche organization, which was a tremendous organization. Hershey was the greatest place, to have an American Hockey League team, and the people that live in that town are phenomenal. Great neighbors, great fans. But to have the opportunity to come back home, I felt was something that it was something we needed to do at that time in our life. And sometimes you don't know why you do things. You make the decision and you move on. And coming back to Sudbury was an incredible move for a number of reasons. Obviously, to be able to coach my two boys, but at the same time, it was also bittersweet in the sense that a year later, my wife was diagnosed with cancer, and to have family around to help support, it was the best scenario for a bad situation.
Yeah, your wife Janis passed away in 2009. Your family started the Janis Foligno Foundation, which has raised over $750,000 for cancer research. And you can still, if you want to go online, you can help that cause today if you like. And why was it important for you and your family to start the foundation?
I think twofold. Number one is to, try to help fight the cause of and find a cure for cancer. And number two was to honor Janis with some of the things that she was doing, in her life. She used to work for Meals on Wheels, so that was one of the other charities that we give to. We try to do a lot for research, cancer research, especially breast cancer research, and we're hoping that someday we can, obviously, for everyone's sake, find a cure to help that cause. I think we're over $1 million now with donations, and we got an event happening actually this Saturday. My niece runs this CrossFit gym in Sudbury, and they have the Battle Beyond the Barbell. It's teams from all over Ontario, and I think even Quebec come in. And she's raised, I think, over almost $100,000 just in the last, I want to say, 14 years that she's run it.
Yeah, Battle Beyond the Barbell. What's the name of the gym?
CrossFit School of Fitness, Sudbury.
Okay, gotcha. Beautiful. Well, good luck with that this weekend. So one final question we have for you, Mike, and we appreciate you giving us this time. We're partnered with a group called Believe, Become, Be You. It's a mentorship program for kids 10 to 17, inspired by the late Sean Gindy, led by Papa Jack. What's the message that you would have for any kids who might be struggling to find their way in today's world?
I think number one is you have to communicate. You don't want to shy away. If whatever you're dealing with, believe me, there's people out there that have dealt with it, are dealing with it as well. You're not alone. Number two is there's lots of people that can help. There's your friends are one thing, your family's another thing, but there's experts out there that have dealt with these situations before, and they know how to heal and help you. So don't shy away. Don't be quiet about it. Someone once said, when you ask somebody, how are you? And they said, oh, I'm good. Well, I'm good is only, one little level, paper thin. Do more than that. If you're talking to somebody and you're trying to, find out something about somebody, or you're trying to make somebody feel welcomed, ask more questions. Ask more questions than, how was your day? How are you doing? I think if we get into more conversation, deeper conversation, people will know that you care. And it's not just a flyby, it's something genuine. And I think those are the most important things you can take away from from life itself, in the sense of always giving up a piece of yourself as a player to your teammates. Your friends are your teammates too. People that you don't know are your teammates too. So open up to them.
Yeah, it's you when you're in that funk, you think you're all alone. You think you're in a vacuum by yourself. But you know what? There are so many people that have the ability to help. There are people that've been through what you've been through, and and like you said, communicate. Just ask for help, because there's people that are there. Yeah, who can help you. Yeah.
Well, you're right, Joe. And you know what? Like things that haven't always been a bed of roses for even myself. My father died when I was 10 years old, and I had thank God I had the strongest mother. Taking on 2 jobs to raise a family. I remember we used to have this little steel box, and it was like a little till, and inside the box, my older sister, when she went to work, would put the money in the box. I went to work. I would put the money in the box. This little silver box got us through years and years of bills and, life. And, if for one day my mother would have quit, we never would have realized the opportunities that we have today. So when you are presented with a tough situation in your life, whoever's out there listening, just know that it's temporary. It's not forever. And there's light at the end of the tunnel. Life is worth living. And there's people around you that are willing to help. They just need to know that, you want help. So again, get people to know your situation, to know what's going on, because they care more than you think.
Yeah, and the other side of it is too, when we get a chance to help, we feel so much better for it, right? And when we get 100%. A chance to help, we're better off for it. So that's a beautiful thing. Well, Mike, thank you so much for taking this time to join us. It's been awesome catching up, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe. Always a pleasure, and good luck with your program. I love it. Thanks for all those, memory lane questions. Very good. Awesome.
It's been fun for me, for sure. All right, you too, buddy. When we come back, how Team Canada got a significant boost from the home fans in Moscow at the 72 Summit Series. In 1992, the best locally owned restoration companies came together with one goal: to make disaster recovery better for Canadians. And to this day, DKI remains one of the only 100% Canadian-owned disaster restoration groups in the market. Fire, flood, or storm damage. When things go wrong, the right help makes all the difference. With the right tools and local expertise, we handle everything from emergency response to full-scale restoration, getting homes and businesses back on track the right way. Because a home is more than 4 walls, a business is more than a building, and recovery is about more than repairs. When you choose DKI, you're choosing a company that's put Canada first since 1992. Locally owned, nationally backed, Canadian through and through. Addiction Rehab Toronto, Toronto's #1 alcohol and drug treatment center, saving lives, reuniting families. The only treatment center in the province to offer medical detox, treatment, sober living, and lifetime aftercare all in one place. Our unique and specialized programs are designed to equip our clients with the tools to successfully lead a life of dignity, respect, and purpose. Let us help save your life or your loved one's life. Call today for more information or to facilitate an intervention. 1-855-787-2424 or visit addictionrehabtoronto.ca. Hearing loss doesn't have to mean missing out. At Hear Canada, we help you take charge with a complimentary hearing assessment, because confidence starts with clarity. Discover hearing aids, accessories, and expert care at your local hearing center. Not sure where to start? Our Hearing Health Guide has the basics for you or a loved one. It worked for us. Book your free assessment today at hearcanada.com. Conditions may apply.
Phil come in. I happened to be dressing beside him that game. And he said, I gave it to the Canadians out there. And so, well, I know Phil, but I had no idea the way he said it. But I loved it when I saw the perspiration run out. And we're disappointed and we're trying the best and it's not fair and we're representing our country. And that's when the people woke up. And I'll tell you right now, Joe, without those 3,000 Canadians coming to Moscow, I don't think we would have ever won that series. They were incredible. We lose the first game, played the third period almost shorthanded because of some bad goaltending. But anyway, we had to listen to the national anthem after the game. And so we're skating off the ice, and these 3,000 Canadians gave us a standing ovation. It was incredible. I can still remember. And then it was a miserable night in Moscow. Probably an hour later, we get back to the hotel, and there was at least 1,000 of these Canadians lined up. We got off the bus, and they went crazy again. Just went, applauding, cheering. The fact that most of them were hammered out of their mind is beside the point.
Right.
But they sang the Canadian national anthem. The last 3 games, it's never been sung with more passion or vigor. I'm standing there, and I had actually goosebumps on my arm. And they got involved in that. And thank goodness they were there, because we were down, and now we got to win the last 3 games. And I remember saying to Eleanor after we got back to the hotel, if we don't win the last 3 games, we're going to be known as the biggest losers in the history of Canadian hockey. And I think everybody felt the same way. And so, but Harry Sinden, and I remember we're going down before the 6th game. He came in and had a little talk, and he said, guys, don't even think about the next 2 games. We just got to win this, because he says we actually outplayed them for the first time. And I think we can win this game. So you guys go out there and win this game. If you win this one, we'll look at game 7 and then game 8. And that's exactly what happened.
Discover the secret to timeless vitality at Renew Medical Center in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Our specialists unravel the science of aging, tailoring plans to defy its effects. Experience cutting-edge regenerative therapies such as stem cells and exosomes, addressing aging at its core.
It's a wonderful spot, and I highly recommend it for whatever you may need, whether you just want to feel better, you want to look better, have basically a quality of life, just to ramp it up a little bit as we age.
Liberate yourself from aging-related concerns, where accountability, technology, and passion for regenerative medicine converge. Begin your path to peak health and wellness with us. Schedule your appointment today at renewpv.com and elevate your quality of life.
Parents, what's the biggest fear for kids 10 to 14? A future they think they can't handle. At Believe, Become, Be You, we know confidence in the future is a habit we can build. Our course doesn't just prepare kids for the future, it seeds them with skills they will use now. For a limited time, the I Believe in Me Foundation is offering the first 1,000 kids and their parents 1 year free access. This priceless opportunity will save you over $2,000. This isn't just a course. It's a journey in developing life-enhancing skills that will grow with your child, fostering gritty minds, creative futures, and better bonds. Get signed up now at BelieveBecomeBeYou.com. That's BelieveBecomeBeYou.com.
And we want to thank all the folks who make this show possible. These are friends, trusted business associates, and all-around great people. We highly recommend them all. Thank you for your support of Canadian sports. A reminder that the show is available on iTunes, Spotify, Breaker, wherever you get your podcast from. Also, check out the show on YouTube. All of our past great shows are on there. Clips, shorts. Like and subscribe. It's absolutely free. Our socials are at Joseph Tilley on Instagram and Threads, Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show on Facebook. Thanks again to Mike Foligno for being on the program. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. MNP, a leading Canadian national accounting, tax, and business accounting firm. MNP proudly serves and responds to the need of their clients in the private, public, and nonprofit sectors. Through partner-led engagements, MNP provides a collaborative, cost-effective approach to do business and personal strategies to help people and organizations to succeed across the country and around the world. With local offices in Oshawa, Mississauga, Burlington, and more, their team is here to support you. Visit mnp.ca today to learn more. Brian Gribben Insurance Planning, helping you solidify your financial future.
At BGIP, what we do that's unique in the marketplace is we show people how to spend and enjoy their money in their early years of retirement without the fear of running out. Also, we're able to do this without you having to change financial advisors. Please look us up at bgip.ca today. Let's book a 30-minute phone call to see how we can bring value to you and your family in your planning.
Call Brian today for all your retirement needs. We did. 905-686-5678. Joe Tilley here. My wife Penny Claire and I recently took an amazing trip to Egypt and Jordan with Trip Oppo. And here are our top 10 must-dos. Another must-do experience is a luxurious cruise down the Nile River. The ship was elegantly furnished with premium facilities, including a spacious lounge and a swimming pool. The cabins were comfortable, well-appointed, offering panoramic views of the Nile River and the surrounding landscape. I would highly recommend that you book your next trip through Trip Oppo. Call them today. Rooted in 60 years of tradition, Sleepy Hollow is a private golf club with a friendly community of members just minutes from Toronto. With mature trees and rolling fairways, Sleepy Hollow provides a challenging and enjoyable experience for passionate golfers. Enjoy great golf, amazing dining, and a picturesque patio second to none. Visit sleepyhollowcountryclub.com.